Now with us in studio today is an interesting man. He's a tall man.
A man of many hats.
He's a man of many hats. Now he's an, I think when it comes to MCs, this guy is very, very high ranking. One of the finest MCs, not just in 254, not in Africa, but in the world.
The world.
When it comes to event organizing and planning, I know few who do it as well as.
Top notch.
I don't think there's anyone who do it better, but as well as. He's been a government worker for a minute. He's now consular general based in Los Angeles in California. Na sasa hii LA si LA, wanzo kuna LA Langata.
Langata.
Sasa ile ni LA where there's Hollywood Boulevard itself. He's a balozi par excellence, if you ask me, doing a lot of good work out there, a lot of hard work as well. He describes himself as a peddler of hope. He's the son of Africa, and he likes a verse, Genesis 32, verse 30, that talks about Peniel.
One thing that made me understand his purpose or what he does is a man, I think it's his mentor. He's called DS Njoroge.
A guy he likes called
10,000 watts.
10,000 watts.
Ulikuwa unaenda show kwa gate unasikia speaker. So for me, for the longest time period, he was a peddler of the best events, best speakers in the world. Yeah.
It's such an honor to have him. His name is Thomas Ted Quacker, but we like to call him Big Ted. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nairobi, and wherever it is everybody's listening to. This is Thomas Quacker, aka Big Ted. I'm the Consul General Ambassador for Kenya in Los Angeles, California, representing the nation of Kenya.
Yo, man.
Making Kenya and Africa proud.
Man, Ted, when you were 10, 12 years old, when guys are being asked what they want to be, did you ever at any time imagine becoming an ambassador?
Zero. No way.
What would you tell guys that time when you wanted to be? What did you want to be?
Well, I don't even remember probably what I was really interested in. I don't know if it was to be a doctor or a lawyer, but also remember most of the dreams that we have are sometimes blocked by the situations around us. So you imagine that, hey, I'm from the hood, I can never, ever be. You know, I'm from this place, I can never, ever be. Or I don't have this, I can never, ever be. But many of us forget that God has put us on earth to break some generational curses. God has raised you up individually in your life so that you're able to scale heights that your family will never have, has never been able to. You know, so once you realize that, hey, listen, God has set me up as a fresh arrow, you know, to shoot through time, then you just operate differently. You know, as everything comes up, you pick it and you run.
I love that. So about your upbringing, where were you brought up?
Well, I grew up in Eastlands. I was born in Eastleigh, Nairobi. I was born in Pumbwani Maternity Hospital very, very many years ago. My parents had just moved into Nairobi. My dad was here. My mom had come from Shags. And they lived with a friend of ours. They used to live in their kitchen.
What?
You know, yeah. You know, I look polished up like it.
Yeah, Ikilami.
Ikilami. And by the way, let me tell you, Annie, this English, I have been tandiking this thing properly for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so even going to state, even those guys are like, yo, sure, you're not from here. I'm like, yeah, you guy, my guy.
Jamoisi tunabonga hivi.
Yeah, the only thing which is spoiling for me is Kenyan slang whenever I speak to guys there, and I'm throwing those things in, and guys are like, hey, what do you mean? I'm dying. Where are you and dying, you know?
So grew up in Eastleigh?
I grew up in Eastleigh, between Eastleigh and Roundabout Estate, that's in Kariobangi, for those who don't know where that is. And then in between, back to Eastleigh, we got our own house. And then my dad, I can make it.
Mkawamoka sasa.
Yeah. My dad made it and we moved to Buru. So what had happened actually, the Commonwealth had just built the houses in Buru, and they needed people to take them up. And again, for me, it really speaks volumes about being able to just operate in faith. You being able to say that, you know, I can take the step of faith. And let me tell you something. I was speaking to a group of guys recently, and they told me, you know, Ted, the difference between Kenyans or Africans and Americans is that Americans are not afraid to fail. That's why those guys just start things, they fail. You know, here you hear a guy started a company, there's 500 million is lost. Oh, we cry, oh my God, how can those guys? Us guys, we'd rather even ngangana with a company which doesn't make money.
Yes.
You know, and you're in your heart, you're like, oh my God, this thing. Listen, because as we're so interested in what people would say, but it looks like the rest of the world is interested in what the books say. You know, it gets to a place you're like, listen, this thing didn't make money. Hey, Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And it applies in many areas of their life. They don't get hung up with situations and stuck in places. I mean, as guys get stuck up in joints. You know, someone did something wrong to you, you want to hold it for 500 years. Or you're in a bad relationship, you want to stay there for 5,000 years. You're being tandiquad every day, you know, and everything, you know, and you're being abused and everything. And at some point, parents will have a conversation with their kids and tell their kids, you know, my daughter, I'd rather have you back home than have you back home in a coffin. You know, we must have the hard decisions. And all these guys, the experiences that come along, but grow up in life. You know, as you move on to every sector of your life, your experiences just grow. So I didn't know all these things when I was beginning. This is just a journey which I'm in. I'm in a new place right now. I'm trying to understand it, and trust me, I'm still trying to understand it.
How long has it been now since your appointment?
I was there I've only been there 1 year.
1 year?
1 year, yeah.
Bro, I feel like you've been there 10 years.
Yeah, because you guys
based on what you've done.
Because you guys missed me.
This is the gap you've left, huh?
It's just you guys missed me. Like, you know, it's been a year. And for me also, just coming back home after a year, let me tell you something. We might say everything we want to say about Kenya, man, but things are changing here. Like, it's only been a year. I'm finding different things growing up. And you look at an area like Kilimani, there are all the strip malls and everything, and you're like, oh, these things are too many. No. It shows you that there is a market which is being born in that particular area. It shows you that the economy is growing in that particular area. Otherwise, if there was no market, nobody would have opened a strip mall. All the strip malls are full. I've never seen any strip mall which is empty. You know? So it speaks to something much bigger than what we just look at.
All right. So he's been a consular general for about 1 year. He's been now in LA. And also about the faith thing. You know, he talked about taking steps of faith. And sometimes fear really inhibits us from moving forward. Also, Ted, I know you have done a few things that didn't work well.
A few. I have had a lot of chances to basically redevelop myself, okay, on an educational point and everything. And some of it is, I don't necessarily mean, okay, I refused to go to college. When I had the chance, actually I was meant to fly out immediately I finished my Form 4s, but I was busy trying to get into the hustle. It was beautiful for me. It was what I wanted. I don't regret it, but I wish I did something better. And all through it, it's been a bit of time. You know, I've actually served in this thing maybe longer than the people who are existing, older than you guys. I've done this for 28 years.
Wow.
And for 28 years, I wish I had actually pursued some specific things. So now I'm trying to play catch up. It would have meant that I had bigger and better chances at going towards something. For example, if I decide I want to be governor for Nairobi, I'll have to have a degree. If I decide you want to be a minister, you'll have to have this. If you want to be president, you'll have to have that. So all those, I'm trying to clamp them up. It doesn't mean that I don't have time, but I just wish that I had spent time well, so that this particular time that I have right now, I'd be spending it on something else. But it's part of my journey.
Ted, where does that match up with the phrase and the verse that says that all things work together for good?
Yes.
Where we feel like we made some mistakes, but then Scripture says that all things are working together for our good.
You see, this is the best thing about God, that God gives you free will. Okay? God gives you free will. And if you look and decide that let's hold out a ruler and say that this ruler is life as we know it, you know, in everything that it is. Actually, let's not get a ruler, let's get a pen, you know, and you say the pen, the area with the cover, the blue part of the biro pen, let's imagine that's life as we know it, all right? But the whole length is life as God knows it, which is eternity. And if you look at it and you say that the blue part is maybe year 0 to year 90 or 100, and then the rest is eternity, you know. Now, if God says he's the Alpha and is the Omega, it means he's standing at the beginning of time and also standing at the end of time. Which means that the time that you are spending complaining about is the blue part. But God is standing looking at the other part and saying, okay, what about this other part? So if God is Alpha and he's Omega, it means that God is time. Because time runs on God. Which means that there's time for everything. It means that you can fall out of time and God can bring you back in time.
Oh, I love that.
Because he is time. Now he's given you free will. You do whatever you want to do. And when you come back to him and you go like, hey, I made a mistake. What can I do? He says, listen, your purpose is not lost. You know, my plans for you are still solid. Come back in time.
Ted, you speak so passionately about God. Where did you and God encounter each other?
Well, it was on the road to Damascus.
You know, at first, because you're very well traveled, I don't know if that is quite literal. It could be like I was in Syria.
and it's not a place in Kawangware, like I was jacked. I think my story is this way, is that my dad is a man of faith, and I've grown up around faith for a very long time. But that does not, even in any sense, affect my faith, my personal faith and my relationship with God. My relationship with God is personal. It's things that I've gone through. I've been bankrupt twice.
Is it?
Yes, the last time 6 years ago and 10 years before that I lost everything that I had. And when I say I lost everything that I had, you see, people will always look at you and not understand. You know, you walk around the streets of Nairobi and you see people dressed up and they're doing things, even driving. And you're like, hey, that guy is so cool. But you don't know that guy has pressure. Maybe the Moti auctioneers are after it. He left the house early in the morning so the landlord doesn't catch up.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a place to go because he didn't have a job, or he was sent away, or he's being waited for to be fired. Like, everything may be working against him. But he just looks well put together. So I've had experiences in my life whereby I'm so well put together that even the guys who are put together don't have confidence in themselves. And that's the problem of life. The foolish people
are so
have
confident.
more confidence than the guys who have a purpose and who are driven by what they have. But they're not sure. But the fool is sure. You know, look at a pack of hyenas. I saw a video of them chasing a lion. For me, it's been an experience with God when I have been at the deepest of the deepest part. And me and God have a conversation, and I love it because he says, come, let us reason together. What he's actually inviting you to is actually to question what he's doing. You know, sometimes we thought, oh, don't ask God questions. God is saying, come, let us reason. It means you bring your story, I bring mine. And then God loves authenticity. Because one of the most stupid things that we do as Christians, and I'm sorry, and I'm not actually sorry, is we are so obsessed with the physical things that we forget the spiritual things. Now, number one, God knows you even before you speak. So I am troubled, but I can't tell God, but I'm pretending in front of God that I'm okay. God looks at me and he goes like, my child, you just tell me.
I know.
I don't know if you guys, those of you who are in relationships, and either it's your dude or your chick, and they're sulking for some reason. You don't know why they're sulking. You're asking them every 2 minutes, what's the problem? They're like, nothing. You're like, hey, if I've made a mistake, tell me. I say sorry. If I haven't given you, tell me. If I forgot your birthday, tell me. But you're like, nothing. Everything is okay. No, me, I'm happy. I'm happy. And you're not talking. God, I don't think God is interested in fakeness. In fact, and this is my faith, so I can say whatever I want to say. I detest anytime somebody tells me, oh, we're about to pray, remove your heart so that we can respect God. That is rubbish. I can remove my heart, my shoes, my everything, and look like I'm bowing down to God, but my heart is proud and standing up to God and not caring about him. Those are physical things.
Yeah.
Okay? Oh, you can't come to worship with dreads and everything. Oh, I can have the baldest head and I can have the best plaited hair, but my heart has nothing to do with God. You can't focus on the physical and forget the spiritual. All right? God is not interested in this. And that's why it says at the end of the world, your physical will not be there.
Yep.
He's going to deal with your spiritual. So how come we spend so much time on a Sunday morning preparing to go look good in God's house, but not preparing enough to go meet God in his house? You don't prepare to meet God. All you're busy is about is how will I dress, how will I look. You know what you're doing that for? The people in the church.
Yep.
It is not about God. And what God says, immediately you have another God before him, then he breaks that one down. And Baraka and everybody in the studio, you have to get to a point whereby if you lose everything, it does not affect you. Do you know why? Because God says anything you put before him is an idol. And an idol can be anything. It can be your husband, your kids, your life, your work. It can be this job that you guys are doing here. It can be anything. So what if you lose it?
Steve Harvey says if you have God, you have everything you need.
And if you don't got God, you have got nothing.
You have nothing.
Yeah.
Ted, Genesis 32:30 says, so Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, it is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. What does that verse mean to you?
Well, this is what happens. Have you guys ever been in a place that things are so thick that you're like, so let me tell you a story. So I lose everything. I'm well put together. I still have a big name. Everybody's like, oh, Big Ted, Big Ted, Big Ted. I walk in everywhere, but I know I'm done. I'm broken. I'm finished. And I remember this particular conversation I had with God. This is just 10 years ago on a roof here in Valley Arcade. And everything of mine had disappeared. And I told God, do this. It seems your plan is to kill me with pain. I told God, do this. Just kill me now. Just kill me. Because I can't take this anymore. Now, I don't know how God speaks to you. And this is a question I ask everybody. How does God speak to you? How does God speak to you? Yeah.
For me, a couple of ways. One, I actually have very vivid dreams. But then also through His Word, and also through the most random people. Someone who tell me something and it's exactly what I need to hear or what I'm going through.
But how does God speak?
I relate to that because sometimes I'm going through something. I've not told anyone, but maybe my friend will come to me and say something and I'm like, you know what, it's like God sent you.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Benjamin?
For me, I think dreams are very clear for me.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So listen, God speaks your language. All right? I don't like ghosts and stuff like that. So there is no way God will ever speak to me in a ghost format. Because for me, let's say ghost is fear. So immediately he appears in that form, I will not be able to take it. I hear people who say, oh, God appeared in my room, there was a light. He knows he cannot do that to me. Because immediately he does that, I'll shut down.
For sure.
But what is the element of God? The element of the Holy Spirit is peace.
Peace.
Which means if God appears in any situation, the first thing that will happen will be peace.
Peace.
So God speaks your language. He can't come and start talking to you in Kiluya, man, and you have no idea what he's talking about. Now, the Luyas, how do they hear God? It must be in Luya.
Yeah,
it can't be in
very true.
English.
Yeah.
So God speaks to you in the language that you best understand. For example, Baraka, let's say you're in turmoil and you're just driving around and you're saying, God must say, hey, things are thick for me. Anyway, I just need a parking. And a parking lot appears in front of you.
Imagine.
Now, two things will happen. One, you'll go like, it can't be God. This is someone who's pulling out.
Yeah.
This is not God. This is just something else. Okay? And then God does it again. And he does it again. And you go up to the office, you're expecting to be fired. They go like, oh, by the way, no. I know what we're calling you about was wanted to just make sure that you're okay. Are you happy? Okay, in a few months we shall be doing this. And you go back and go like, damn, you don't see it. So God speaks to you daily. For me, Peniel was my place whereby I knew I am done. And I've had very many Peniel experiences. Some whereby I'm dry. And let me tell you, the worst thing about life is we always say, kama una do, weka tu dredi. Unaona? Yeah? Or if you, na kama una do, weka ndevu yani, utaka tu nika, ukona chapa, and everything. We also, people who are on the other side, and on the other side I mean public opinion and public place, we also go through hard times. But some of those hard times for me has been where God shows up face to face. Let me tell you a story. This happened just the other day. I've been doing a program at my office, and I've been doing quite a bit of stuff which I thought, okay, maybe this doesn't add up too much. I hosted somebody at my house, and it was just to meet up and just to talk. And then when my boss came to town, I was told I'm going to meet this guy, some guy. And I'm with the bosses and everybody. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm the underdog and everything. Let me see who they're bringing. Maybe I can connect with them. You won't believe it. Like, we're sitting in the meeting, and the guy who walked in through the door is the guy I hosted in my house.
Oh, really?
And for me, it was a total game changer. Now, to everybody, he was just an invited guest. But for me, it was God. God just walked through the door, Because the first thing he did is goes and like, hey, my guy, how you doing? When are you calling me again to your digs? Now, all my bosses are there. My bosses are like,
you draw this guy.
This guy has actually been doing what he needs to do. So for me, Peniel is the place whereby God just shows up. Now, the Bible says that you cannot see God and live. Now, what is the real meaning? It doesn't mean that when you see God, you die. That's not the truth. It means your flesh cannot see God and you remain the same. I am so amped up in my faith that I don't care. And by the way, I'm not your typical Christian. I'm what we call, I'm righteous and I'm ratchet at the same time. Okay, I know I'm ratchet. Okay, so I don't walk around here pretending like I'm God's gift to mankind. I don't do that. Okay, but I have been in a place whereby you can't shake my faith. Let me tell you, if I lose everything I have now, my faith in God is still solid. You know why? He's done it in the past. I am 100% sure he will do it again.
You know, almost call him Digited.
I used to be a DJ, by the way.
Really?
Cool.
What haven't you done?
Nimetafuta pesa
Umekuwa donda?
Yeah.
You have?
Yes, 58 Buruburu.
What?
Nimetafuta pesa in Nairobi.
There's a time he hosted
Yeah.
the Pioneer DJ competition.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. No,
Hey,
it was a
and
conference.
it was a very good thing for me to experience that in that manner.
It was a conference which we did, which I had the privilege of getting. I had a marketing agency here in Kenya, and Pioneer were one of our clients through Credible Sounds, and I was tasked with the responsibility for 5 years to create a concept which brings together DJs and people in the music industry to just experience the product. So it was a Pioneer DJ convention with about 3,000 people from East Africa coming, and it's coming back. But let me not go there. Let me focus.
I don't know if this is a fair question. What has been your
It's
most...
coming. It's coming like the coffee. By the way.
The coffee is actually...
I just need to throw it in there, just in case.
Your coffee is here. Coffee is bringing it in a couple of seconds. But what has been your most exciting job? And I don't know if that's a fair question. And you've done a lot.
Wow. Let me say right now. So number one is I love new beginnings. Like it's scary for me. It scares me to death, but I love it. So think about it. But I'd never stepped in the state before this job.
No way.
No way. Never, ever. The only states I've been is maybe on Instagram, posting a location. You post a location. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How this
Because
guy...
even you do the same,
Well.
but we know.
How this guy and Calligraph speak so well and they've never been to state for a long time
Yeah.
is beyond me.
Number we're Jangos. So we're brought up well. This thing is just in the blood. The only Jango who's anguishing us is King Kaka because he didn't have good accent, King Kaka, listen, Mazewe and Shule, and also Frasha. These guys are, and Erico Mondi. These guys are really letting us down, but we got it.
Let's talk about your exciting job. You said
Yeah.
new opportunities excite you.
So this particular job was interesting, and it still is because it's new territory. It's uncharted territory for me, and also for the industry and for the young people in Kenya, people in the creative economy. Never before has this ever happened, and you're in this new territory, and you're expected to do specific things, but also chart your own path. So just being there is amazing, but also just being able to serve the country. Guys, let me tell you, I think in life, every young person every young Kenyan deserves an opportunity to serve the country. Whether it's internship, or whether it's being placed, I think it's a must. One of the experiences which you go through in countries like maybe Israel and what we used to have here called the NYS was not necessarily so that, they can now just Tessa you and everything. No, it's for you to experience public service. Because once you experience public service, you're in there. And you're able to say, you know what? If I ever get this opportunity, I'll do this thing differently. I'll do this differently. And I believe many of our leaders are there because they experienced a bit of it. Also, when I was working for the presidency a couple of years ago, and that was my first opportunity just to meet royalty and be involved. I mean, I remember the Obama visit. That was one of my most profound, and the Pope's visit.
Yeah.
And also I did one for one of the great Hindu leaders who came to Mombasa, and Jesus, they bought a car. That car is parked in someone's house now in Mombasa, inside the sitting room. It's crazy,
Why did they buy a car?
You see, it's about dedication and devotion to your faith. I mean, let me tell you, the Pope's car, the small one,
Yeah.
although it's here at the Catholic headquarters or whatever, but I know people who wanted to buy it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And it's very many things hold different things for people. And I don't think it's that thing that has the power. It is the space that you're in. And it's usually you want to tap into the grace that this guy has. But let me tell you about Obama's visit. So Obama, we tell Obama is coming. And that time I'm director for events at State, and there's all this hula baloo and everything. And government is a big arm. Government is an octopus. It has very many arms. So all the arms are moving. Okay, so you have your small set there, and you tell, okay, you won't do this whole thing, you'll just do the State House part. Okay, so I say, okay, cool. So these guys show up 2 weeks or 3 weeks before, and they say, okay, they want to walk through. Now I'm like, okay, we usually do a 1 day walkthrough, and I'm a genius, I know all this thing done. We did it for 2 weeks. And the guys go like, we shall walk from here to where he shall say the first greeting. They write it down. From here to the carpet, another one. In my head, I'm like, what are these guys doing? Like, they're mapping it step by step. And for me, it sharpened me so crazily to be able to experience that, because for me, I was like, oh my God, these guys are on a new level. It's not being petty. It's actually, they have just perfected the thing that they're about to do. For example, I knew I was coming on this station. I have most of my conversation in my head. I know the things I'll say, I know the things I won't. So I might look like I'm flowing, but it's because I've thought about it. And one of those things, what one of those things did for me is it enabled me to be able to prepare ahead of time and not always to want to have a last minute access. So that has been a crazy one. I've been, one of my first jobs was also at Case FM. I was actually one of the first presenters, was 6 who were hired at KISS. And I go to KISS. I'd never been to media school. I saw a small advertisement in the newspaper. That time we didn't have social media. It was just emails and everything. So it said, if you have a good voice and you're funny and everything, write to this thing. So I wrote. And of course, I was loose on very many of my experiences. I didn't have Bachelor of Communications, all those things. So when I said, listen, me, I'm funny. I sent it, and that time I was doing a lot of MC work. So I get an interview. I go to this building in Westlands. I go up, it's just an empty lot in the building, but there's a table they've put there, and there's this old man with specs, there was another white guy, and there was another guy called Vaughn who have sat there. And they're looking at me and they're like, okay, tell us about yourself. Yeah. I go like, oh, by the way, guys, I'm a very funny guy. I'm talkative. I know everything. And then I remove this big word of pictures or photographs. I say, listen, I'm at every event in this town. And I put them on the table. And they look through them. It's just me emceeing. They say, okay, we love you vibe. Okay, go. We'll call you today in the afternoon. I'm like, are you calling me? I might come back. They say, okay, we'll come back. So I came back at about 3 or 4 o'clock. So I sit down there, and be okay, listen, we're giving you the jobo. We're opening a new station. They didn't even tell us what the name of the station was. They refused to tell us the name of the station. But we're opening a new station, and we'd like you to work for us. Okay? I'm like, okay. How much? They asked me, how much money do you want? I'm like, eh? Now, I was working for another guy. I used to get 5 Gs per month. And I used to live in his house. And the house was 5 Gs in South B. I used to live in an SQ. So the guys, how much do you want? So I'm like, hey, I'll gonga these guys. But if I gonga sana, these guys might tell me no.
Yeah.
Jeez, so I'm like, and that's another thing, bro. Always understand your worth. Don't be afraid to present your worth. If you want me and I present a higher price, you'll negotiate. But if you don't want me and I present a higher price, even if I present a lower price, you'll still tell me no.
Ted, what's the line between knowing your worth and being greedy?
Greed does not exist. Greed is, for example, I know what I can do, right? Okay, maybe I can only drink a cup of coffee and 1 mandazi. But that's
like
my
really
target.
insisted on that thing, eh?
That's my target. A cup of coffee and 1 mandazi.
Uh-huh.
If you decide to drink 1 cup of coffee and 3 mandazis, surely speaking, that is greed. All right? Now, I know how much money I'm earning right now. If I get another job, I'm promoted, I won't be like, well, triple that chums. I might be worth the triple, but I know the progression of everything. So this guy's asked me, how much do you want? I go like 5K. He was asking 5K. If I said 10, I'll make it 4 times. These guys have to gonga them.
So gonga them and ask for 20K.
20K. And I sat there and looked aside. The guy says, what? Are you sure? In my head, I just panicked. I said, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll lose. So I just, no. Excuse me, sir. I even for the 20, I can do other things. I'm a very good event
You thought you would
manager.
ask for too much.
I thought it's too much. Now I was going to lose the opportunity. Remember, I'm earning 5 Gs.
Yeah.
And I'm surviving on emceeing gigs of like 2 Gs, 3 Gs, 4 Gs. I'm okay. See, I don't have cash. So I'm like, even if I'm going to add 20 to the other one, so I go like, I can do a lot of stuff. The guy tells me, I don't think us guys can pay you 20. I'm like, oh my God, I lost this. And then they tell me, what we'll do, we'll pay you 68,000 shillings. But when you chomo tax, that thing was coming to like 46. But listen, I don't care. I'm on radio, number 1. Number 2, it's an opportunity for me to grow my brand. Now, this is what I do. And this is, everybody out there, listen to me. You cannot tell me you want to be the world's biggest DJ, and you're not willing to step into a small space to create your own space there. You cannot tell me you want to go work for CNN, but you don't want to be a content creator working for a small firm, honing your skills and creating everything that you want to do. It's time that we learn to teach our kids, our society, and the young people the opportunities available in internships. And I don't mean even paid internships, even non-paying internships. All right? Paid internships. And getting into a place as an underdog and rising, because your talent is like oil and water. It will always rise.
I've got my siblings so tuned in. Wamesema nisalimie balozi wa Hollywood. It's Balozi Hollywood. Big shout out to you, Mazay. Big shout out to you.
Yeah, thank you.
There's a guy, an author I really like reading his stuff. He's known for writing a couple of books, but 3 in particular stand out. So one of them was written when he was quite young. One is believed to be written when he was mid-age, and one towards the end of his life. A guy who in the Hollywood would like to call Solo, but the Bible calls him Solomon. And Ecclesiastes 3 talks about, this is a message version, there's an opportune time to do things, a right time for everything on the earth. There's a right time for birth and another for death, a right time to plant and another to reap, a right time to kill and another to kill, a right time to destroy and another to construct, a right time to cry and another to laugh, a right time to lament and another to cheer, a right time to make love, another to abstain, a right time to embrace and another to part, a right time to search and another to count your losses, a right time to hold on and another to let go, a right time to rip out and another to mend, a right time to shut up and another to speak up, a right time to love and another to hate, a right time to wage war and another to make peace. There's a right time for everything, Solomon says. Ted, what does this mean to you?
Well, and by the way, this is one of my favorite verses, and I have a favorite song, which one of my kids let out the other day, called "Time" by Heart the Band. And you know, the best thing about time and seasons, actually, that verse is about seasons. And one of the things I heard one day, Bishop Mureithi preaching at House of Grace, is about seasons. Number 1, seasons don't exist together. They never exist together. Like, definitely, under the sun, if one season is starting, another one is ending. So you need to look at the losses you have in your life, or the transitions, not as losses. They're actually transitions to another season. Now, right now as you speak, right now, there's somebody who is struggling for dear life in a hospital.
Completely.
In the same hospital, there's a baby who is also struggling for life to come into the world. Now, in between there's an ungrateful person, and there's a person who's telling God, give me one more chance. Seasons. You need to understand that when you leave a season and go into another season, because God has given you knowledge, He prepares you for the next season. Now, what is the next season of your life? What is the next season of another person's life? You know, for example, I know what my next season will be.
Do you?
Yes. After I'm finished with my season right now, I need to be a voice of influence to Africa and tell Africa to arise and wake up and change. The whole world cannot be talking about going to the moon and building cars which are running on stones made in Africa. And we are talking about food. We cannot be fighting over food, and the whole world is already in space in AI.
Yep.
We can't be talking about, oh, we can't do this, we can't do this, and we can't do the other. Number 1. But number 2, Africa must also stop being that beautiful girl in the village who looks at other girls outside and thinks, oh, those guys are more beautiful than them. Yet those girls all want to be like the girl in Africa. Africa must understand one thing. Africa is the continent with the most minerals in the world. But do you know that Africa has the least gold reserves in the world? The country in the world with the most gold reserves does not produce gold. Now, if currencies are measured by gold as a standard, then what is wrong with Africa? Maybe the problem is this, and I know I've gone on the Tsar side. The problem may be that we are so used to losing alone that we can't believe that we can make it together. So we have a scarcity mentality that for you to be blessed, I feel that God is taking away from me. So I'll never clap for you before yours come. I'll never support you. Now, if we have 720 million people in East and Central Africa, Netflix worldwide has 230 million people.
Wow.
It means 720 people, if we just decide to support one particular direction, we are home. In fact, let me tell you this. I believe that we were sold to the American, the British, the Swiss dreams and everything. We have, like, all our dreams are based on other countries and their resources. Our dreams are not based on our country and our resource. So your dream is to go to State O or to go to Germany or Europe based on those resources. But whose dream is it with the resources that we have? Whose dream is it about Kenya, about Africa, about seeing leaders and leaderships that come up and change the world and change the face of people? Whose dream is it? Everybody wants to run off to another country. Do you know why? Because those guys have sold to us their dream. Africa, what is our dream? What is our dream? Africa right now holds the biggest potential for the future. The mean age for Africa right now is 19 years. While the mean age of countries like Europe is 50 to 60 years. Which means in 10 years, Africa shall have the biggest population boom of middle-aged people who will be consumers of any product. Africa needs to stand up. Kenya needs to stand up. God has blessed Kenya. Kenya is a hub of peace. People might say, oh, there's all these things everywhere in the world or in Africa. But listen, no place is existing like Kenya.
Ted, when did you unlock this patriotism, this Pan-Africanism? Because many guys in this country would do anything to leave this country.
Because we have been sold to a dream. And it was sold to us through music, through movies. Do you know how crazy it is where I live with my family with my wife in LA? They have shot a movie on that street. And the first time we actually went and stood there and we were like, oh my God, this post was in the movie and everything. And then after 5 days, I pass there every day. There's some trash there on the wall. Nobody cares. I'm like, okay, what changed? The place is still the same when they shot the movie. Okay? It's because when they write these movies, they write them for their people. Not for you. It's for their people. Now, to the extent, now it actually catches up with other people. How do you want to portray your people? We have a guy like Luanda Magere. Luanda Magere is actually Wakanda. Wakanda is a make-believe story.
If you think about it, that's
Luanda
true.
Magere is a real thing with a real place. In Sharks, if you go, you'll find a stone there. They're like Luanda Magere. You go to Wangwa Makeri, Mekatili, Syokimau, Koitalel, Arab Samoe. You know, you go and you'll find these are real places. These are people who are here. But do we really look at them like those ones? Or do we want Hollywood to write for us about Wangwa Makeri? And then we go like, oh my God, I like Wangwa Makeri so much. Wangwa Makeri, Wakanda forever. You know, it's not that. So for me, I walked into this place and I looked around and I said, hold on, wait a minute. What do these guys see in my place that they want? Why is the world in Africa if Africa is so bad? If Africa is so useless, how come we have the biggest potential? How come we have the solution to climate action? How come we have the most arable land for food security in the world? How come the Congo forest is producing better carbon emissions than even the Amazon? How come Africa has all this potential packed in it, but us Africans do not see the potential that is in it? It's because we are busy chasing another dream. Let me finish by telling you this. I think one of the biggest problems we have in life is we always pray to God to give us another person's dream. So you'll never pray to God for your dream. It will always be your hero. So you go like, hey, DJ Pinye, God, please just make me like Pinye. So you just add salt to Pinye's, but that's Pinye's dream, not yours.
Yep.
So you're actually praying to God to give you Pinye's dream, or to give. So the day Pinye's dream goes south, then you have a problem because you don't have a marker. Right now I've decided I'm gonna try this God of mine. I'm gonna blow up my dream. Like my dreams to him are, listen, I need to be an influencer changer in Kenya, in the diplomatic world, in Africa, in the world. Number one, I decided I'm just gonna be doing African fits. Not because I don't have any other things, but because I know it's a program that has been put in my mind that the Western kind of suit is what is official. What makes it official? Who sat down and decided that this is it? No way. I can still do my kitenge, my tie and dye, my African print in whatever style and design I want, and it will be official. The Kuwaitis or the Arabs wear their kafir very, very easy and they don't care. The Indians wear their tunic and they don't care. But Africans, it's like we must apologize for everything. But do you know what the problem is? Is that every adjective that has been used to describe Africa has been negative. And we do it every day. We think it's a joke, and we go on social media and we make jokes about ourselves. We laugh. But somebody somewhere looks at it and says, these guys don't know what they're speaking into. If the power of words really is what it is, then what are we doing? We can't be the guys who tell our kids, speak well of yourself. Tell yourself that you're strong. Tell yourself that you'll make it. That's what we tell our kids, don't we?
Yep.
Or we tell our friends. Yeah. Then how come we don't speak like that to Kenya? How come your first instinct is, Kenya ni mbaya? How come you can't speak to your country the same way you want your kid to speak to themselves? How come hawezi jichocha? Useme, even things are thick, it is okay, we'll make it. Kenyans only have one thing we bring to the table: resilience. Kenyans are resilient. Okay? Kenyans in any situation, in any place, we are known worldwide. I hosted the Kenyans in LA during the LA Sevens, and even the World Rugby knows that area is reserved for the Kenyans. We are known anywhere. You just go to any place, anywhere, you'll find the Kenyans there. So I wear my bangles, my Kenyan bracelets, regardless of what guys think, proudly. For me, it's a symbol. If I pass anywhere where there's a Kenyan, anywhere, let him go like, hey, Ndugu, I see that. Okay? I want us to be the guys who lift this flag so high. Or do we want, who's the biggest artist we have now?
Who's the biggest
Secular.
artist? Secular, Sauti Sol Nyashinsky.
No, not Kenya, international.
Beyonce? Do
we want Beyonce to wear this band and then all of a sudden we are like, oh my God, it's so cool, I'm going to wear it?
Yep.
But it's been cool all along. It is you who did not have value for it. Let me tell you as I finish, because I know I've cooled your time.
Proper passy.
There's the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I've been there I take everybody there. The Hollywood Walk of Fame is Kenyatta Avenue with people's names on it. Nothing else. Do you know what they've done? They've just attached a value to the street. And that's what currency is. Currency is value to the product. What is money? Money is just paper. But what you actually respect is the value. The Bible says that where your what is?
Your treasure is, your
so
heart will be also.
So where is your treasure? If your treasure is not in what you have, you'll walk over gold any day. How many guys in Ushago walk over the fields full of gold? Because there's no value. So for me, mine is to encourage value for Africa, value for Kenya, value for yourself as a human being, and for you to be able to understand and to know, regardless whether you're in Kenya or the diaspora, that Kenya is what you have.
He's our Consular General based in Los Angeles in the US of A in California. He's Ambassador Thomas Big Ted Kwaka. Thank you so much for making time to hang us out this morning. Thank you for the words of wisdom. Thank you for the stories also. Last one. Is it true that the former boss made guys wear Kenyan bangles and bracelets in said house?
No, he didn't.
He did?
But he loved wearing bracelets. And then for me, God has blessed me to serve in different levels. And every level that I've served, I've actually won a bangle for it. Yeah, so my first election campaign, which I did with him, and the next one, actually we did with him and the current president, running the street affairs. And then when I did the second president, and then when all the jobs I've done, basically I've worn a Kenyan bracelet just to show that I'm grateful to the country for giving me an opportunity to serve.
I love it, man. Thank you, Ted. There's the right time for everything.
96.9 FM, Pearl Radio.